Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock, which means it's time for a Magic Stuff. And today I'm going to be doing another in the 3 Best Trick series, which is where I talk about a particular prop or a particular product or a particular thing in Magic, and I talk about 3 tricks that are really awesome that you've never seen before. Because here's the thing, and we know this, but everybody in Magic these days is so obsessed with the new shiny thing that comes out. Everybody forgets the older items and the older tricks that have been around for a while that are simply awesome. And that's what you're going to see in this video. 3 tricks that you've never seen before. And today we're going to be looking at dice. That's it. 3 tricks with dice that you've never seen before. There's a lot of dice tricks out there. There's millions, in fact. In fact, this is probably going to be one of several videos where I actually examine tricks with dice. And dice are really practical because you can just have them in your pocket, you can bring them out, you're ready to go anytime, anywhere. Perfect for mix and mingle, perfect for table hopping. You know, I mean, Murphy's brought out their mental dice and their mental die, and so many people use those because they are super practical, but there is a lot more you can do with dice as well. So, like I said, I'm going to be looking at 3 older items. The first trick that I'm going to be looking at is really as old as the hills. Like if you buy this, and it is still available to buy, all 3 of these tricks are available to buy, but if you buy this trick, you're going to have to watch the instructions on a DVD. I know, shock horror, right? So this first trick, this first one, is called the Radical Dice Routine. So let's have a look at that right now. So the first trick is going to be Soul Stone's Radical Dice Routine. Now this is Soul's handling of a classic routine where you're basically showing different sides of a dice using a paddle style routine. Lots and lots of people have put different versions of this out over the years. I've seen Curtis Cam do a fantastic version of this. The Magic Bakery many years ago put out a great version of this. But Soul Stone's version, the Radical Dice Routine, has always been the one that I've gone back to. It's always been my favourite routine, and I absolutely love it. Now, it comes with a DVD with Sol explaining his whole routine. You get to see a live performance, and then you get to see an explanation. He's broken it down step by step, phase by phase. You also get 2 dice for this, and the 2 dice that you get are designed, they're both gimmicked in different ways that allow you to be able to do this whole routine. Now, the audience is really only aware of 1 dice, and you're switching 1 dice for the other mid-routine. One of the dice, although it is gimmicked, it is examinable, which is really nice. The other one isn't, but you have both of these dice. All you have to do is have them both in your pocket. You bring them out and you're good to go. It's an instant reset, which is so super cool. And the dice are the perfect size. They really are the perfect size for this routine. They're not too big, they're not too small. Now, this is designed for mix and mingle. The reason I'm telling you this is we had a bit of a nightmare filming this routine because you have to get the camera close enough in order for you to see what's going on. So we had a bit of a nightmare filming it. We wanted to get the camera as close as possible. This isn't an issue that you have when you're doing it in the real world, so to speak, but you do want to do this in like a mix and mingle situation. So I'm going to do a full performance of this for you first of all, show you exactly what it looks like. I'm going to perform it to Ryland, and then when I've done that, we'll talk about why it's so good. Okay, right, so I've got a die here. Die is a singular for dice. Check it out, make sure it's okay. Is it all right? Yeah. Is it good? Now, I know you know this, but most people don't. The opposite sides of a dice always add up to 7. So 1 is 6 and 5 and 2 and 3 and 4. Exactly. Opposite sides of a dice always add up to 7, yeah? Yes. Now, we're going to try and do something with this dice. I'm going to hold it here so that the 1 is pointing up. Can you see that? Let me get it. 1's pointing up. Now, obviously, sorry, the 6, yes, the 1 is pointing down because if we've got the 6 there, it means we've got the 1 there. Is that right? Yes. Now, check this out, because if I just come in and just tickle the bottom of the dice, what happens is the dice can change places. And what I mean by that is now we've actually got a 6 on this side and we've got a 1 on this side. It happens every single time I do the tickle. It's kind of weird. If I don't do the tickle, we obviously have the 6 at the bottom, we have the 1 at the top. But when I do the tickle, now what happens is we have the 1 on this side and we have the 6 on this side. It's so weird. Now, I can actually make it happen almost visually. You see the 6 there and you see the 1 there, yeah? But if I shake it like this, now we've got the 1 there, and if you've got the 1 there, it means you've got the 6 on the other side. Yes. It's so weird, it really is. Now watch, I'm going to try and do this one more time, because some people think that what I do is I have a special dice and it's got a 1 on both sides, and it really does look sometimes like I've got a 1 on this side and a 1 on this side. You'd swear that I've got a 1 on this side and a 1 on this side. Sometimes people think I've got a 6 on this side and a 6 on this side. Other times people think that I've got, you know, a 1 on this side and a 6 on this side. And that's exactly what it is. There's a 1 on this side, there's a 6 on this side. Is this confusing? It kind of is confusing, isn't it? It really is. Should we try one more thing?
Yes.
We'll try one more thing. What I'll do is I'll get it so that we've got... Should I do it this way? Yeah, I'll do it this way. I'll do it so that there's a 3 pointing up. Okay, so we've got
4 pointing
which
down.
means 4 is on the other side, right? 4's on the other side. 3's there, 4's there. Now watch. I'll explain how it works. I shouldn't do, but I will. You see, there's an invisible dot right there. You can't see the invisible dot, but if I want to, I can actually put the invisible dot on the 4. It sounds ridiculous, but if I do this, now we've actually got a 5 there because of the invisible dot. And if I take the invisible dot off, it becomes the 4 again. Look, if I just take the invisible dot and put it right there, now we've got a 5 on that side. But if I take the invisible dot off and do it there, you can see there's actually a 4 on that side. The other thing is you can actually, so this whole trick works with addition and subtraction, because obviously if I want to, I can put a dot on there, that's addition, that makes that a 5, or I can remove it, which makes that a 4. But it's also about squeezing the dice. See, what I can do is I can squeeze dots from one side of the dice to the other. Now that sounds ridiculous, right? But let me show you what it looks like. Look. Do me a favour, just squeeze the dice like that. And what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and make that middle dot go from that side all the way to that side. Watch. By squeezing, it's halfway. It's almost there. And let's just check. Look, there it is, right there, which leaves it as a 2 on that side. The dot goes right through the middle of the dice. And you can have a look at that. And that is a really radical dice routine. So that is Soulstone's radical dice routine. So a few things that I want to talk about this. Now, first of all, it's not that difficult to do. The whole routine revolves around one move, which is kind of like a paddle move with dice. It allows you to show the other side of a dice, and in the action of showing you the other side of the dice, switching one of the sides. It's a classic move that has been around for years and years and years. What Soul has done is routine this into a really commercial piece. And the addition of the gimmick dice, or one of the gimmick dice, means that you get some really cool visuals where they see a 1 on each side, then a 6 on each side, and it looks like it's visibly changing. You couldn't do that with a normal dice. You have to use the gimmick dice that you get with the radical dice routine. So it's great. It's super commercial. It's an instant reset, which is great. You just put the dice back into your pocket. It's examinable at the beginning, and it's also examinable at the end. The magic happens in the spectator's hand. That moment where they squeeze is really, really cool. So the magic happens in the spectator's hand, and it is really visual. Now, the other thing is everybody knows what a dice is. Everybody who's you're performing for has probably played some sort of board game with their family at Christmas, and everybody is aware of what a dice is. But what's interesting, and I always talk about this, I always talk about having a hook, having an interesting hook that grabs people's attention. Even though as magicians, we all know about opposite sides of the dice adding up to 7, laymen never really know that. So you bring the dice out, you bring it to them, you give it to them, and you say, hey, did you know opposite sides of the dice add up to 7? They don't realise that. It's a nice way to get into it. And then in that action, you're then into the first phase of the routine. What's nice about it is if you look back at the performance, there's about 10 or 15 visual moments of magic. There's a lot happening, which is great when you're at those gigs where there's a lot of people. And you've got to get around as many people as you can. You've got a very limited time to do that, because it means that you can go to one group of people, do something that's like over in 2 or 3 minutes, and have like 15 moments of magic. It's great. It feels like they've seen a lot more than they actually have, which is a really important consideration when you're working really busy gigs. And the other thing is, it's not a card trick, it's not a coin trick, it's something very different. It takes up very little pocket space, and as I say, there's no electronics for it to go wrong, there's nothing like that. It is literally just 2 dice in a pocket and you're ready to go. And when they understand the plot about, hey, the 6 and the 1 are changing places, people think there's a 1 on both sides, it's kind of like a real double take moment, and you get that move down, it looks great. So it's called Soulstone's radical dice routine. I've been doing this for many, many years. I've checked all the different variations out. In my opinion, this is the best version. It's not very expensive. You can get it, as I say, you'll need a DVD player and you'll need the dice, but the dice come with it. It's from it's marketed via Mia Yedid's company, My Magic, so you can get it from there, but you can also get it from other magic dealers. He distributes it to other dealers as well. And yeah, it's a super fun routine to do, and I've never seen another magician performing this. In fact, I've mentioned it to other magicians, and I've never even had anyone else say they've heard of it. So let me know down below if you've seen it before. I'd love to know, have you ever performed it? And if you do you get the same sort of reactions that I do from it? Because I get killer reactions to this trick. So there you go, that's the radical dice routine. Now let's look at trick number 2. Okay, so trick number 2 is Die-Abolical version 5, which is being marketed by Alakazam Magic, presented by Dave Loosely and Peter Nardi, but created by Steve Cook. Now, volume 5 is the latest version of the of Die-Abolical. There have been lots of other versions in the past, and on the actual project, when you actually buy this from Alakazam, Peter and Dave explain the history behind this prop and who marketed it and so on and so forth. The routine that I'm going to be performing for you in a minute is Peter Nardi's variation of Steve Cook's Die-Abolical, and I think that's a really important consideration. Not that there's anything wrong with Steve Cook's. When you buy the product, you get to learn Steve's handling. You get to also learn Peter Nardi's handling. I prefer Peter's handling for it, just as a little bit more clarity. Now, I remember the first time I saw this routine, I was completely fooled. I didn't think, I immediately thought, does it use the principle it uses? And then I dismissed it because it looked so clean. If you haven't seen it before, it is a real fooler. Now, let me perform it for you first of all, and then I'll talk about why I like it so much. Okay, Ryland, I'm going to show you something incredible, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be predicting exactly what you're going to be doing. Okay. I have a little box over here. There is a prediction there. I'm telling you that before we do anything, that prediction has been put down on the table. Okay. Now, I also have a bag, and inside the bag, there is some dice. There's 6 dice altogether. There's a green one, there's an orange one, there's a red one, there's a blue one, there's a purple one, and there's like a clear translucent one. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Yeah. 6 dice altogether. Now, first of all, check the bag out. Make sure it's okay. Make sure there's nothing weird about it. Is it a normal bag?
Yes.
Very good. Do you want to examine the dice, or are you happy with the dice?
I'm happy with the dice.
Great. So we're going to pop the dice in the bag. First of all, the green one, then the orange one, then the red one, blue one, purple one, translucent one. Now, I want you to keep the bag on view in the camera, but give it a really good shake up. And you, Ryan, are going to make all the decisions. You are going to make all of the choices, okay? Okay, so what I want you to do is reach into that bag right there with your other hand and take 3 dice out, okay? Don't want you to see any colours, don't want you to see what they are, but take 3 dice out.
You got a red one.
You got a red one, okay.
We got a translucent one.
A translucent one.
And a green one.
And are you happy with those 3 removed? Yeah?
Yes.
You want to remove those 3, yes? Yes. Wonderful. So that leaves us with 3 more in the bag. Do you want to give the bag another shake up? Okay. Now, you're going to make all the decisions now. Hold the bag. When I snap my fingers, and only when I snap my fingers, you're going to reach in the bag, you're going to be drawn towards 1 dice. Bring that dice out now. So reach in, you're going to be drawn towards 1 dice. Take that dice out and put it on the table. What have you got? And are you happy with that dice?
Yes.
You don't want to change your mind?
No.
You're happy with that dice. I said you were going to be drawn towards 1 dice. Did you feel drawn towards that dice?
Yes.
You did. Well, here's the thing. If I told you I knew that you would end up with blue, would you believe me?
No.
That would be impossible, wouldn't it? But I made a prediction over there from the very beginning. Do you remember?
Yes.
That prediction has been here from the very, very beginning. And the prediction is a dice. There is a dice in here, or a die. And that die is of a colour. And it is actually, if I can take it out, a blue die. So I was actually able to predict exactly what colour you would end up with. I know you're going, whoa, but you know what? Sometimes people think, well, Craig is really good at sleight of hand, and somehow he snuck a blue dice in. I didn't do that. And to prove it to you, I put a sticker at the bottom with a picture of a blue dice and an arrow pointing towards it, proving that I knew that you would pick the blue dice. And that is why I was able to predict exactly what you would do. So that's the routine. I mean, Ryland had never seen this before. And when I performed it, I said, hey, Ryan, can I perform this to you? I want to show everyone a trick. He was completely fooled. He was afterwards, he was like, how did you make me pick the blue one? Like, it's so great. It really is. It gets a killer reaction. If you're going into a mentalism set where you're doing sort of more mental or mental magic type stuff, this is a great opening thing to go into that set because it's quick and you don't see a lot of quick mentalism. It's quick. And it's very, very engaging. The other thing is it really does play big. It's that old cliche, isn't it? Pack small, plays big. Because you've got this big bag that's involved and you've got the prediction box and all of the dice, it does actually play a lot bigger than you would expect. But it packs into next to nothing. All I do is I put the dice inside the bag, I put the box inside the bag, wrap it all around, and it fits in my pocket, absolutely not a problem, and I'm ready to go anytime, anywhere. You don't need a table, although I performed it on a table. You don't need a table. If I'm doing this mix and mingle, I'll say to somebody, take out 3 dice, very good, can you hold on to those? Brilliant, right, let's shake the bag up again. So you don't actually need a table at all at any point. There's only one negative, and I want to bring the negative to your attention. The one negative is it is the same outcome every single time, so it's always going to be the blue dice. That's something that you need to bear in mind, because obviously if you work in a gig, and let's say you work in a wedding, for example, and you don't want to be doing this 10 times a night, because then what's going to happen is if people are chatting to each other afterwards, they're going to go, hang on a minute, they had blue and they had blue and they had blue. So that's something to bear in mind. But it is designed for close-up, but it'll also play for parlour. But you do need to bear in mind it is the same outcome every single time. Other than that, it's a very fooling method. It really is. It's very natural. The technique that you're actually using here, it doesn't feel like they're using that technique. It feels like they're fully in control of their actions the whole time. And as I say, the biggest piece of praise I can give this particular routine is that it's absolutely perfect. Like I said, if you're wanting to go into a mentalism routine, it's a great opening routine for mentalism. The other thing is, it's a great routine to do if you're going into other routines with dice. I talk on this channel all the time about transitioning from one routine to the other. This is a great routine to transition from into another routine. In fact, the third trick that I'm going to be talking about in a minute is called Roll by Chris Congreave, and you can very easily go from this trick into Roll, because Roll uses 3 dice, and so you can say to people at the end of Diabolical, let's do something with just 3 of the dice. Pick 3 dice. Which 3 do you want to use? Those, great. We'll put the others away. I'm also going to need a deck of cards for this, and you can transition into Roll, which is just super wonderful. So you can think about how you can actually transition from this, and as I say, if you're going into a mentalism set, it makes a really strong opener because it's not ambiguous. The prediction is put down at the very beginning. You can give it them to hold on to, and then you prove, even though they feel like they've made all the choices, that you knew exactly what it was they'd pick. So there you go. There's not really any negatives to it, other than it's the same outcome every single time. And again, it's very different. It's not your typical mentalism trick, right? Write something down. You're bringing props out, you're bringing interest, you're bringing intrigue, it plays bigger. Absolutely love it. And it even works in a parlour show. So there you go. That's the second trick with dice that you've probably never seen before. I did mention that the next one's going to be Roll. Let's have a look at that right now. So the final trick using dice that you've never seen before is Roll by Chris Congreave, my friend Chris Congreave. Now, Roll is absolutely incredible. Chris, over his career, over the last few years, has created some incredible magic, but Roll is, in my opinion, one of his best. It was originally released many, many years before Alakazam released it, but with a very limited release, and then Alakazam brought it out as Roll and gave it a big, wider audience. But it is an Alakazam trick, so the instructions are great. You don't see Chris on the project. It's again done by Dave Loosely and Peter Nardi, and the live performances are by Dave Loosely and Harry Nardi. So there you go. What it is, in essence, is it's a trick where you are bringing out a deck of cards and you openly show that there's a prediction card in this deck, and you actually show that there's an odd back card. There's a red back card in a blue back deck, and that's the prediction card. And then they get to roll 3 dice. You don't even need the dice on you. They can use invisible dice if they want to, but you get them to roll 3 dice. They create a number. You deal down to that number. There's a card there, and then you show that your prediction card matched exactly what they would do. It predicts the roll of the dice, and it predicts the card that they would end up on. So it's almost like a predicted open prediction mixed with a prediction of the dice roll, and everything feels really free. I'm going to do a performance of this right now so you can see what it looks like in action, and then when I've done the performance, I'll explain all about why I love it so much. Okay, Ryland, I'm going to show you the most amazing trick ever. It uses cards and dice, okay? Yeah. Now, first thing is, I'm going to tell you that I have a deck of cards here, but I am going to tell you that there is a prediction card in this deck.
Okay.
And you can tell which the prediction card is because if I spread through, you can see that there's one card with a red back. Can you see that?
Yeah.
And if I push it forward, you can see I've written something on the card. Now you can see there I've written, you will roll. And I'm going to show you the rest of the card because underneath I've put down what you're going to roll. I've made a prediction. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave that in there. We'll give the deck a cut so you don't know where it is. And we'll just put that over there. Now, I've got some dice here. It's up to you, Ryland. Would you like to roll 1 dice, 2 dice, or all 3 dice?
All 3.
Okay, so what I want you to do is pick them up and give them a roll. There we go. You're very good at this. Now, do you want to roll them again?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to roll them again? Do you want to roll them again?
No.
No. Okay, now hang on. So what we have there is we have a 4, a 4, and a 3. Now, you are going to make all the decisions here, Ryland. First of all, I'm going to ask you again. Would you like to roll them again?
No.
No. Would you like to remove 1 dice and eliminate it completely?
No.
One more thing. Sometimes people think I'm using like fake dice or loaded dice, which is ridiculous because it's been a different number every time. But if you want to, I'll let you pick one of the dice up and you can change the number on a dice. Would you like to do that?
Yes.
You would? Okay. Go for it. What would you like to change it to?
That one to 6.
Okay, now I'm going to give you another choice. Would you like to change that back to the original number or would you like to change another dice to a different number?
No, I'm okay.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Would you agree that you made all the choices there and there's no way I could have known what number ended up with?
Yes.
So let's do some simple arithmetic here. 6 plus 4 is?
10.
Plus 4?
14.
Was that a free choice?
Yes.
Very good.
That was a free choice.
Now we've got these cards here. Do you remember?
Yes.
I'm going to deal 14 cards out. If it was a 12, I would have dealt 12 cards out. If it was a 10, I would have 10 cards out. You get the idea. So 14 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yes?
Yes.
If you dealt one more card, it would have been completely different. If you dealt another card, it would have been completely different. No way we could have known what you're ending up with, but looks here like you're ended up on the Jack of Hearts. Is that fair?
Yes.
Now, here's what I'm going to do. Do you remember the prediction card that we put here in the pack? We put it somewhere in here, didn't we? Can you remember?
Yeah.
Here it is. There it is. And do you remember it said on there from the very beginning, you will roll? Yes?
Yeah.
Here's the interesting thing. I predicted, there's no way I could have known what number you would have rolled, but I actually predicted from the very beginning, you will roll 14, and that's exactly what you did. But not only that, I knew you'd be impressed with that, but I went one step further. You could have ended up on any card. You ended up on the Jack of Hearts, and I actually wrote underneath, you will roll 14, I wrote Jack of Hearts. Proof that I knew exactly what you were going to do from the very, very beginning. So there you go, that's Roll by Chris Congreave. It is an absolutely incredible effect. Now let's talk about the pros. First of all, it is completely and totally self-working. There is no skill in this routine at all. Secondly, there is no memory work. The genius behind this routine is you don't need memory work in order for this to work. You're using you're combining 2 or 3 principles together to create a situation where you don't need to memorize anything. Those people that stay away from tricks because you've got to memorize this or memorize that, that's not the case here. You don't need to memorize anything. What you see is what you do. It allows you to focus 100% on presentation. You can have one person do this and give them all 3 dice. You can have 3 people do this and give 3 dice out to 3 different people. It makes absolutely no difference, but you're in this situation where they're freely rolling and they're not loaded. I remember the first time I saw this, I was like, well, maybe they're loaded. Are they loaded dice? They're not loaded at all. They can roll any number they want to and it'll work every single time. The nice thing as well is, and again, earlier on we talked about transitioning, this is a great way to transition from routines with dice into a card routine. And what I mean by that is let's say you've done Diabolical and you've done a dice trick, and then you've gone into Roll and you've done this dice trick, and the action of putting the dice away, it is a gimmick deck with Roll. It's not, no one ever suspects that the deck's gimmick. It is a gimmick deck, but in the action of putting the dice away, you can switch the deck and you can go into a normal card routine. So it allows you to transition really well in that regard, which is cool. It's an instant reset. That's the other thing about this. You literally just put the cards back in the case and they are reset, ready to go again. And even though the deck of cards isn't examinable, but the individual card that they picked is, and the dice are, and that's where the focus is. The focus is on the card that's odd backed, and the focus is on the dice, and nothing else. And so, plus I've done this a whole bunch of times, and nobody ever wants to examine everything because it feels so fair from beginning to end, because you show that prediction at the beginning. They can see that it's the only predicted card in the deck. They then make all of the choices, and you show you've predicted it. It's a very cool trick, and again, it kind of bridges mental magic and mentalism in a really nice way. So I'd highly recommend it. It's called Roll. It's by Chris Congreave. Again, it's marketed from Alakazam, and that is your third trick using dice that you've probably never seen before. So there you go, guys. That is another magic stuff in the bag. I could do another one of these with dice, so let me know down below if you want me to. Would you like me to do another routine with dice? Would you like me to do another video with dice? If you would, I'll be more than happy to do that. Don't forget, I'll be back next Thursday with the magic stuff, and I'm going to be back tomorrow with a magic rant at 9 o'clock. I'm going to be back with a magic live at 6 o'clock, and at 2 o'clock we're going to have a shorts. Don't forget, if you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. And by the way, guys, thank you so much for everybody that's purchased and asked questions about Visible. I really appreciate it. You guys are the bomb. Thank you very much. And I'll see you again soon. My name's Craig from Magic